We're back. Got the WL toys sitting on the table here, kind of somewhat stripped down. Chassis folded forward. Still has some standing water in here. And in the process of trying to pull out the servos, the cheap WL toy screws are all stripped out here, so I'm going to have to try to unscrew these from the top. And yeah, the stock receiver, where'd I put that at? Right here, definitely has some issues. She is not working. I can get steering, but no throttle. And then every once in a while the throttle does work. It's like hit and miss on the throttle, so it's not like an engine problem or anything like that. So that's getting thrown off to the wayside, and I'm just going to pull out the receiver out of the TF2 real quick. I've got the Savox servo that I pulled out of my TF2 in a previous video when I upgraded the servo in the TF2. So I'm going to put this guy inside the WL toys along with that receiver, and we'll get this girl back up on the water tomorrow. So yeah, hold on a few more minutes here. Maybe I'll throw this on pause and see what kind of headway we get. You know, before I get too involved with that, I figured I'd say something here too. All this little bit of green circuit board stuff and this here little diode, I think it's a diode, was on the back of the motor going from one side to the other. It was kind of bridging the positive and negative. So I was thinking maybe because I had so much foam kind of wrapped in around the engine, this whole area, that maybe there was water getting in there, and then that foam along with the water was bridging the gap and maybe causing this to short out a little bit maybe and sending some bad info back to the receiver. Wasn't too sure, so I cut that out of the loop. Everything still worked for a second or two, and then once again it was right back down to the hit and miss on the receiver. So once it was sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't. So nevertheless, here we go. Gonna steal some receiver out of the TF2, or just borrow it for a little while. And I tell you what, WL Toys roadblock. There's a little Allen screw right here, and this other Allen screw right here. I don't have a size for those. Like, I've got metric and American Allen wrenches, and they're either too big or too small. Nothing fits these little screws. And that is for the servo mounts. So definitely hitting me with a little bit of a roadblock. Not the first time with WL Toys. Well, there's one. I had to use the twist it on the top and put an Allen wrench in the bottom and try to hold it still and twist it and hold it still and twist it and hold it still until I got it to break free. But right here is another one of their little screws that I don't have an Allen wrench that'll fit it, metric or American. So, and it's not all the screws. You know, the upper screw worked. You know, it came out, but there's just every now and then you come across a screw on the WL Toys that Allen wrench just won't fit, and it's not a Torx either. So, don't know. Got it. What a pain in the butt. That screw is getting added to the screws that need to be replaced. And we are back, and with the donation of a couple of leftover RC four-wheel drive tapered screws, new servo is mounted up. A couple other RC four-wheel drive donor screws. A couple more minutes, we'll get the receiver in here, get everything all centered out, and go from there. And I keep saying receiver. We're not just taking the receiver. We're taking out the speed controller too, which is a Axial AE5. So we're going to be robbing the Axial AE5 and a Spectrum SR415 4-channel receiver. Once again, that's already plastic dipped and good to go. So just to reiterate, just to go back over it, I guess. These are just trying to cover the bases here. So New servo, new ESC, and receiver. And I can't use the speed controller out of here because my battery lead is just way too short. I've got a lead on my Twin Hammers receiver or speed controller that's twice as long as this. And I'm going to need that in here because it's got a long ways to go. So I'm going to have to grab the speed controller from the Twin Hammers. As far as the receiver goes, man, this thing has got a real good healthy dose of plastic dip on it. I know it's good to go. I just have to relabel all my wires because I took all the labels off of them. So, I don't know. Don't know if I want to, I want to use that receiver just because I know it's going to be waterproof. But for convenience, I should probably take the receiver out of the Twin Hammers instead. I don't know. Decisions, man. Damn decisions. And you're going to have to excuse the phone cord, but have you guys seen the Twin Hammers? I didn't even show that. I did a video of the Twin Hammers and the TF2 with different tires and wheels on them. I couldn't put my new tires on the TF2. They just wouldn't clear. They were hitting on the leaf springs, hitting on the fenders. I'd have to put another 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch body lift on it in order to run them. So didn't put them on there. But I did get the new wheels on the Twin Hammers there. She's looking pretty sharp with the red wheels. And I did put wheel weights in these wheels. I know this is off topic, but I'm going to be taking this thing apart here in a second. I did put wheel weights in here. So each wheel, I weighed them all. They weigh 9.25 ounces a piece. So 9 1/4 ounces per wheel. She's got some weight to her, just with the wheels. It's all by the flop. A lot of tread on the ground. They do have foam in the tires, just because I was adding so much weight. Most people know that I don't like running foams, but since I was adding so much weight to them, I ran foams. So just a quick peek at the Twin Hammers here with the new Boom Racing 1.9 blah 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 aluminum wheels. So just a peek before I take her open and or gut her open and take the ESC out of her. And I'll be honest with you guys, I really hate taking this thing apart. It's a lot of work getting into the underside of this girl. Just like on the WL toys, a lot of screws to remove. I guess ultimately I'm going to have to get another 4-channel receiver and another speed controller, which I mentioned in a previous video that I was going to do in the first place when I ordered the speed controller and receiver for this, was I was going to get an extra one. I guess in hindsight, I should have probably got that extra one, because I wouldn't be doing this right now if I did. And it's, going to be a setback to try to get another receiver. I'm going to have to order that. And as far as the tires go, like the tires on the TF2 there, I only opened up one package of tires, and I took them to my local hobby store, and I said a lot of nice things about my local hobby store, but I took them up there and asked if they wanted to possibly do like a little swap-a-roo, for another set of tires. And yeah, they weren't having it. They were just like, well, where'd you get your tires from? And I said, blah 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 hobbies, ordered them offline or whatever. And no, we can't trade, no way. 2 of the packages were unopened, and one was open. I was going to give them the other set for free as long as they would do some kind of a trade with me. But yeah, they were like, oh, you should have bought them from us. And I went and looked at their tire selection to see if I could get new ones, and they just didn't have anything there, man. All they had was like they had a bunch of 1.9s, no 2.2s. And the 2.2s that they had and the 1.9s that they had didn't even have decent tread on them. They were like a set of Michelins, for your car. So, it's like, is there any wonder why I ordered them online, versus getting them from the hobby store? At least I knew what I was, Or at least I could pick what I was getting or whatever. So, nevertheless, little story about the old tires there. While we were talking about tires, I was gonna take the 1.9 XL Proline tires that were on here and put these red wheels onto those tires, but I couldn't do it because I ended up breaking off a bolt down in the bottom on the back of one of the blue wheels, trying to tear them apart. So I kind of gave up on that and just put these red wheels on the stock Twin Hammers tires. But as far as those big monster tires that I bought for the TF2, since I can't return them or anything, I'm going to save them, and they will fit on that WL Toys. So if it's alive in the wintertime, those big monster super swampers that I bought, I'll probably put on there, since the WL Toys is so light. It'll help it, maneuver through the snow a little bit better. So just a little future thought there. And here we are, she is open. And this is what we're chasing after, the ESC. I'm not too sure if I should take this speed controller out of here and run the speed controller or not. It's not plastic dipped, but it does have Spectrum's Reliacoat or Relion coat or whatever coating on all this stuff, so they say that it's, air quotes, somewhat waterproof. I don't know if I really want to test that theory or not, versus plastic dipping it. But it sure would make life a whole lot simpler if I just took this right out of here and took this out of here versus messing with everything on the TF2. But then again, the TF2's receiver would be pretty much guaranteed to work because there's so much plastic dip on it. So there's really no chance that the receiver is going to mess up on on the next run or whatever, or next try. So whereas with this one, you're kind of crossing your fingers and hoping that it makes it through the next video. I know the speed controller would be okay, just because I have the same speed controller in the TF2 and I put it through hell, and it's just a champion. But the receiver, I'm not too sure about. So I don't know. I might run it. I might not. Like I said, the TF2, I can run it. That's not a problem. And I can mark all my leads because I have double whips coming off of a lot of the ports. There's a lot of Y connectors on there, so I'd have to label everything, and I would probably have to find a bunch of male plugs to plug into the end of the female plugs, or put a whole bunch of dielectric grease around them or something to keep them from getting wet and possibly corroding, which is kind of one of my fears. That's the only reason I don't want to use that receiver, is because I'm going to have all these extra wires laying around in here, and there's a chance that that there could be some standing water on them, and I don't really want to don't want to bugger up my wires, so yeah, up in the air. We'll see what happens here. And we're back, and you can see the decision that I made. Rob Peter to pay Paul. So, yeah, I'm going to probably put a couple of extension loops or a couple extension wires into the ports on this receiver, along with some dielectric grease just to make sure that those are blocked off. And let's get this guy installed here. And the Twin Hammers is loosely put back together. I just kind of, obviously, just loosely put my screws in. Top ones aren't in all the way. It's kind of left it all so I can take it apart relatively quick. So one more second. And moving right along. Oops, we're all plugged in here. On the receiver, I found a couple of spare plugs that I wasn't doing anything with. They had wires coming off of them. I put shrink wrap on all the individual wires just to separate them, make sure that they weren't going to cross or anything like that. And just put those two plugs, two male plugs, into these two female auxiliary 1 and 2 ports since they're not being used. Pulled out my speed controller wire, made sure that it had dielectric grease on it. put it back in, put dielectric grease on both of these guys as well as my steering servo and the bind plug. I made sure that there's a dielectric grease on all that stuff, since I'm just going to be trusting Spectrum's Relia coating, and cross my fingers and hopefully it works, because I really don't want to wait 24 hours for some more for my own waterproof coating to dry. I'd much rather plastic dip this bad boy, but once again, for the sake of video, we'll get her going. Oh, we are hooked up, man. I don't have my steering set up just yet. Just centering the servo and making sure everything works. Steering, check. Bonus. Alrighty guys, we are back and she is back together and in all working order. Everything is bolted back down and wired up and back together and good to go. Should be good for a run tomorrow. And I guess this radio over here, I guess I can peel the batteries out of this guy since all this stuff is getting thrown away. The old steering servo, shift servo, or not shift servo, but speed controller / receiver. I've got the shift servo sitting off to the side, so all garbage. I'm just going to cut all the wires off of this stuff. That way I have these wires and leads and terminals laying around. And once again, yeah, this guy is 100% finished. Back together, trail ready and water ready. I say trail ready because it still has a ton of ground clearance underneath it. Even with the foam on the back axle. Still get about 3 fingers underneath that back axle, so pretty high up in the air with these big sand paws on it. But I'm going to put her on a charger, and we'll get this baby out on the trail tomorrow. And yeah, put her back in the lake, and maybe even run up the river. I don't know. We'll see about the river. Definitely hitting the lake. And once again, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for watching. Very much appreciated. Click like and subscribe as always. Share with your friends.